Rack and roll. Shadows of Centris. I'm starting to regret asking to be part of this. Amadi notes as the three of them just stand around at the required location. They have low-profile armor on in case things get screwy, but right now they're just at the waiting around part. Maybe, maybe not. For all we know, we're back up for an agent extraction or reinforcements when the shooting starts. Reggie replies, "Not likely. We're on the spire across where she's dining and set to leave when she does. We have her schedule and will be, coincidentally, near her all day. We're not an attack, we're a paranoia gambit. We have basic patrols and cultural understandings coincidentally near her all day." Koa returns. "So we're seeing if she's dumb enough to react, or perhaps paranoid enough to attack." Reggie notes as he starts to grin. If she's as happy as she seems to be, then her attempting litigation will open her up for our own lawyers having an absolute field day. "Don't we have an entire team of alien lawyers on retainer?" Koa asks, and Amadi nods. "Better. They're all synths. Robot women. Caddy Downshift was just the first of many," Amadi says before chuckling. "Am I weird in that I think it's really damn weird that we have an entire team of giant transforming robots and they're about litigation and legal wrangling rather than punching the hell out of other giant robots?" "You've been watching too many cartoons," Koa remarks. He checks his communicator and finds an update before sighing. "Grab a seat, boys. We're in this for a while." All three men get comfortable at a nearby diner that still has a view of the target. They're not really bored as about 10 minutes into their wait, someone sets down a suitcase next to Reggie who checks the content and then calls for someone to pick up what appears to be a drug deal in progress. Mostly because they don't want to open the small baggies of powder to see what's inside. Humans may be immune to most poisons, but things don't have to be a poison to do weird things to you. "We've got movement," Reggie notes after a while as Madame Oliphas suddenly pauses in her luncheon and is staring in their general direction. That they had found a diner with outdoor seating to let them look across the spire traffic and to the outdoor seating of the upscale restaurant on the much fancier and more expensive spire right next door made this perfect. "Don't make a move. Act like we're supposed to be here and are not deliberately freaking her out. Remember plausible deniability," Koa says as he scans the area, moving his head to examine things but keeping the target in his peripheral vision. His head is moving, but his eyes are on her. The businesswoman is on her communicator after a bit and speaking furiously. "Excuse me," someone asks, and the three men turn to see a waitress looking nervous. Are you three going to order anything else?" The men glance down to the snacks and drinks they had ordered. "Yes, we were just hanging out as well. Is something the matter?" "There's been complaints that you're taking up unnecessary diner space?" she asks, and the men glance around. "Sure, there are some other tables taken up and it's moderately full, but there are plenty of empty places." "I see. Could I have a reminder what the daily special is?" Koa asks in a friendly tone, and the waitress blinks before starting suddenly. "Or better yet, just bring 3 helpings of it. Sometimes a surprise is nice." "Actually, do you have a version of the special rated for Canadors? Things are usually pretty good when those big girls approve of it," Amadi asks, and the waitress nods. "That does sound good. Make that 2 with a Canador twist." Reggie returns before stretching a little and seeing Madame Oliphas smugly watching them. Their new orders sent they fairly quickly have their new dishes in front of them. Open-faced hamburgers with fruit salad on the side. Koa notes before taking a piece of his and trying it. "A little overcooked, but all right." "These things are okay." Reggie notes popping some of the fruit into his mouth and nodding. It was like a melon, but had natural wavy lines of green and blue rather than just one set color. He assumed it had something to do with the growth patterns of the fruit. "Hey, could we also get some glasses water with this? Our species has some pretty high hydration needs," Amadi asks the waitress as she passes by. "Oh, all right, that's fair," she says before bustling off. "You do know that a fair portion of a person's hydration is actually taken care of by the moisture in their food, right?" Koa asks, and Amadi rolls his eyes. "Duh, why do you think melons are so popular? A sweet treat and a drink at the same time, but it's hard to notice and mockingly toast someone with a plate of food." "Let's not overdo it," Koa notes. "And what's she going to complain about? That we gave her a gesture of respect from a distance? When you bring the law into nuanced or contextual situation, it flounders and flails," Amadi notes. "Or she could have a very good team on standby. She is litigation happy." Reggie notes as he cuts out a piece of his meal and eats it. "It still bothers me how small the portions are for most of the galaxy. I know the axiom feeds them, but that's an intellectual understanding. Know what I mean? Oh yay, there's a lot we know from study, but experiencing it is still odd," Koa remarks. "Still, a lack of spices or size of portions doesn't mean we're missing out much. Spices have long been used to cover up for poor quality ingredients, and these people have very high quality ones. Their $10 steak is at the $50 range back on Earth." "So you say. I still like mine with a bit of something more," Reggie says with his camping shaker out and lightly dusting his dish with a few choice flavors. "Smile, gents, she's looking," Amadi says, throwing a wink across the traffic into the patio. "I told you not to react," Koa says sternly. "You know if she has someone listening in on us, then the whole plan is blown," Reggie reminds him. "Audio surveillance without consent is illegal on this spire. If she is doing that, then she gets herself into a legal snarl. If she has someone spying on us, it's even worse. After all, we just have a series of postings that may or may not be near where she might or might not be. Perfectly legal. If she does something or tries to do something about it, then there's all sorts of legal fun that happens after that." "That's right, boys. We're here for culture, not conflict," Koa reminds them. "Still, it's interesting that they have something like this. A fruit salad is a fairly easy idea, but why pair it with the meat and bread? They don't eat as much, not as many calories. We'd have something like this with a side of potatoes and veggies with the fruit salad as a dessert or something. Our own meals are larger but almost entirely filler," Amadi says. It tastes good and it's nutritious. I'm not sure we have any room to complain," Reggie remarks as he eats more of his own. "We're not complaining. We're categorizing and understanding. There's a difference," Koa states before his communicator goes off. He reads the text that was sent to him. "Oh, that's funny. Are you going to share with us?" Amadi asks as he finishes off the hamburger portion of the meal. "You know, with some onions and tomatoes on this, it would be even better. And a bit of pickle, some lettuce, hot peppers, mustard, and another bun to cap this off," Reggie adds. "That's just a hamburger. Seriously? Hot peppers?" Koa asks, and Reggie shrugs. "Oh, like you don't take something weird on yours. I saw you loading up on pineapples on yours last time they were up in the cafeteria." Reggie counters. "Ladies, you both eat nasty, okay?" Amadi asks. "Quiet mushroom boy," Koa remarks, and there's some chuckling around the table. "Anyways, finish up. We're going to the next position soon. No rush, though." "Is that in the official text?" Reggie asks, and Koa passes him his communicator. "So it is." "Indeed, anyways, I'll get the bill and receipt," Koa says, standing up even as the water arrives. "Oh, thank you." Is this too late?" "Oh no, we're not in too big of a hurry," Koa says with a smile. "Thank you, miss," Amadi says, taking his glass even as Reggie nods while polishing off his meal. It takes them a comfortable 10 minutes to finish everything off and leave without issue before they get into the car they've borrowed for the day. The route they take to follow Madame Olifas is deliberately scenic, and they make a few appearances around a few different spires, plausible deniability for an accusation of stalking, After all, they're just taking a lazy spiral pattern among spires, one that can be traced most of the day, with the time that Madame Olifas seeing them just a coincidence. Which means by the next time they spot her again, Amadi's got a large package of fresh hara leaves tucked under his arm. "So those things are often used in traditional rabbis' dishes?" Reggie asks as they walk right past Madame Olifas. They don't look back as they continue on their way, and they're only 20 paces away when Koa's communicator goes off. The text tells him not to turn around as Madame Olifas is staring and clearly suspicious. He doesn't tell them not to turn around, and thankfully neither moves to. So things are nice and easy to keep contained as they get to their vehicle and start on the next part of the spiral. A flicker of coincidence that has Reggie fighting back cackles has them pull into a parking spot opposite of Madame Olifas's personal vehicle. She stares as they get out, keeps staring as they ignore her and walk into a nearby big brand bookstore. It's very hard for Reggie to keep a straight face as he browses a few shelves covered with the local equivalent of Popular Mechanics and Dummies guides to ship parts and components. He grabs the 2 books he was told to get, and the one for himself. The boys on the ship want to know about more types of experimental non-axiom FTL, and Reggie wants a better breakdown of the different major weapon manufacturers to see if he can't make a Franken weapon with the intimidation of a Dake Tech, the reliability of Canid, the easily repaired and replaced parts of Enro, and with all the bells and whistles you can fit on a Prov weapon. Not easy, but a common enough desire that the big magazine has dozens of pages with diagrams dedicated to just that. Apparently, the 4 companies loved the idea as it encouraged people to buy more of their product to try and make the perfect version, something that no one ever really succeeds at, but makes them a lot of money as they try. Legends of the Galactic Wilds, the Star Eaters? Really, Amadi? Reggie asks when he sees his fellow soldier at the checkout. "I cast illusions. Inspiration is ammunition," Amadi says with a grin. He opens the book and shows a massive picture of what looks like a series of teeth crossing over a ball of fire. "You can't tell me that's not cool." I think he's more baffled at the idea that there's something that would eat stars in the way we would eat a hard-boiled egg, Koa remarks as he shows up. He has a couple of history texts, and the one for himself is about the Age of Winged Blades, a romanticized war that the Metak were major participants in. Really? I'm buying a book based on legends from the opposite side of the galaxy as Earth, from a sheep woman who's giving me goo-goo eyes, on a building that's part of a superstructure that by itself has a population that rivals, if not surpasses, any nation on Earth, on a planet covered with the things, so I can get inspiration to better use my space magic. But a big monster munching on stars is where you draw the line, Amadi asks in an utterly incredulous tone, indicating each part of his speech to emphasize things as clearly as he can. "Do you have to make me sound like that big of an idiot for asking?" Koa asks in a pained tone. "Yes." Reggie jokes as he buys his books from the next cash register over. The Morega watching the proceedings seems very amused by the entire thing and levitates up something to sip on as she watches. Unfortunately for the teller, her show doesn't last, and soon all 3 men are walking back to their vehicle, with Amadi almost tripping twice as he keeps looking at all the pictures of space-borne monsters larger than planets and stars. After the second time, Koa confiscates the book as Reggie smirks at him. They pass by the stylist that Madame Olifas is at, and knowing this, Amadi stops. The other 2 get a couple of steps and he holds out his hand. Koa openly rolls his eyes and hands the book back, and they continue on. The whole time Reggie is watching the proceedings, or rather he's watching Madame Olifas in the store beyond them, a slight smirk on his face. "I have to admit," Koa says as they get into their car shortly after, "I was a little worried about the sheer preciseness of the plan, but every part's on the dot. Olifas must be addicted to her schedule, or have some obsession with only changing it when she can benefit from it and no other time." Well, whatever's happened, our shift with it is over, which is almost a pity because I want to be there when she really starts to panic. Reggie notes. You really took what she did personally. Amadi says, and Reggie nods. When someone brings shit to where it shouldn't be, you want to at least give them a swat for being a dick. Reggie agrees. Even if she'd probably love it if you gave her one. Amadi says, and Reggie scoffs. That woman? I'd check her for broken glass and razor wire first. Oh, come off it. She's a bitch, but not a monster. Temper your rage, Koa says as they take off and blast away from the spire.